What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Sports Muse Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Brumley. Tonight, I'm not doing the whole setup in the studio, just recording on my iPad because I wanted to talk about the playoff pictures. Just recorded a video talking about the AFC playoff pictures, so make sure you check that out. But let's talk about the NFC right now. It's not quite as exciting as the AFC, wild card spot. I don't really want to talk about division leaders right now. We'll talk about it in passing a little bit, but I want to focus on those wild card spots. This year's a little bit different. There's 3 spots instead of 2, which is kind of fun. It's a little bit more exciting. So we talk about that, that 5th seed or the number 1 wild card seed, which is the Seahawks, who had a tough loss today against the Giants. The Seahawks have been just up and down this year. They're 8-4, so the record doesn't indicate that. But Russell Wilson, I've said this in previous videos, has covered up a lot of holes of theirs. And when he's not spectacular, when he's just really, really good, they're not the same team. And it just shows how good Russell Wilson is. But it's also just kind of shows some of their weaknesses as far as a team. So as I said, Seahawks are 8-4. When we talk about strength of schedule, 1 is the hardest, 32 is the easiest. Seattle right now has the second easiest remaining strength of schedule. They're 31. Baltimore has the easiest schedule. They have a 96% chance of making the playoffs. Right now they're tied with the Rams, so they're still obviously contending for their division. I'd probably say they would win the division, would be my guess, but who knows. So when we talk about the remaining teams they have left to play, they have the Rams, which is a huge one. Jets, Niners, and Washington. The Niners starting to come on a little bit. Washington, obviously still playing for a division title. Jets are just a train wreck of an organization and a team. Worst case scenario, they go 3-1. They could easily go 4-0. As far as that, they're making the playoffs. Right now, they're just playing for, home field in that first round or, whatnot. The 6th seed is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 7-5, have been a roller coaster this year, up and down. My prediction, when I did the season breakdowns before the season started, I thought they would start off slow, which they kind of did, and they started picking up, which is what I predicted. But then they've kind of started to plateau and decline a little bit, which that's kind of what surprised me. I understand Tom Brady's 43 years old, but he's unquestionably the greatest quarterback of all time. I thought with all the firepower, they even added Antonio Brown. It just seems like, I don't know, he has a little bit of a happy feet because he's an older quarterback, and you see that. But also it just seems like they're not always on the same page as far as the receivers and Tom Brady. That's something that could get better. That's a correctable thing. So, as far as problems to have, their defense has been pretty banged up. They got beat up pretty bad by the Chiefs, even though the score didn't show that. But the first quarter they just got decimated. But the Chiefs are probably the best team in the NFL. I know the Steelers, and I'm a Steeler guy, are undefeated, but I still think the Chiefs are the team to beat. But the Bucs, 7-5, 28th strength of schedule, so they have a pretty easy schedule from here on out. They have an 82% chance of making the playoffs. The teams they have to play are the Vikings, the Falcons twice, and the Lions. Falcons aren't good, so that should be 2 wins. The Lions aren't very good. That should be another win. The Vikings, right now, just today, ended up getting that last wild card spot, which we'll talk about. That's still another a winnable game, so that's why they have an 82% chance. It's going to be hard for them to leapfrog the Seahawks because the Seahawks also have a really easy schedule. But I think if you're Tampa Bay, you just want to get in the dance and let Tom Brady be Tom Brady. We talked about that last wild card spot, the 7th spot, which is the Minnesota Vikings, who overtook the Cardinals today. The Vikes, who we kind of wrote off, they were kind of left for dead. They did not start the season well. Now they're kind of back in the picture, but got some bad news. They have the 8th hardest strength of schedule from here on out. They have a 39% chance to make the playoffs. They have the Saints, Bucs, Lions, and Bears. Lions, I think, are by far the easiest team they have to play. The Bears don't have much of an offense, but they kind of, stylistically, they're a tough matchup for the Vikings. They do pretty well against the run. That's what the Vikings do well, and their passing game set up off that play action. Bucs and Saints. So, conceivably, the Vikings don't make the playoffs, but they have a little bit of an uphill battle. And when we talk about this 8th and 9th teams, the 2 teams that are out right now, they have very, very similar percentages. So it's going to be really interesting for that last playoff spot. So the team that they surpassed was the Cardinals, who are also 6-6 right now, but due to a tiebreaker, the Vikings are in front of them. The Cardinals have a lot easier schedule from here on out. They have the 25th ranked strength of schedule. They have a 34% chance of making the playoffs. They have Rams, Eagles, Niners, and Giants. Um, you know, the thing about the Cardinals is, they're one Hail Mary away from losing five straight. It's starting to come in question. It's kind of starting to show itself that Cliff Kingsbury might not be a great coach. Kyler Murray's kind of taken a little bit of a step back so far, like in the past few weeks, because he was on an MVP type level for a minute. I think it's going to come down to if they can get that running game going and it takes some pressure off Kyler Murray, they'll be all right. But right now they just it almost looks like their plays are, hey, Kyler, make something happen, which puts a lot of pressure on a young second-year guy. So it's going to be interesting. The Rams are, I think, a tough matchup for them because they can get that pressure right up the middle, which every quarterback hates. Eagles, which is kind of interesting because Hurts looks a lot better than Wentz. We saw him a little bit in the second half. Niners are starting to get a little bit healthy. The Giants have a good defense. I don't know as far as that goes. It's going to be interesting seeing them and the Vikes. And then the last team we're going to talk about is the 49ers, who are 5-6. So they're a game behind, but they are right down the middle, 16th ranked strength of schedule, 38% chance to make the playoffs. Obviously they play tomorrow night. They have Bills, Cardinals, Seahawks, Dallas, and Washington to finish up the season. But the thing is, the Niners are starting to get a little bit healthy. Obviously they lost a ton of defensive leadership and talent. But we're starting to see their running backs come back a little bit healthy. Debo's back. He had a huge game last week. They knocked off the Rams. So as far as that goes, they can contend with any of these teams. But I don't know. They definitely need the Cards win because obviously that's who they're chasing. Seattle's going to be a tough one. Bills is going to be a tough one. Dallas, Washington should be two easier ones, but still losable games. But like I said, when you look at that 7th seed we're trying to get in, Vikings 39% chance, Cardinals 34%, 49ers 38%. So it's neck and neck. To me, like I said, I think the Seahawks end up probably winning the division or the highest wildcard spots, and either are the Rams or the Seahawks there. I think the Bucs stay place. I don't think they're not going to catch the Saints. Mathematically, they can, but they won't. So I think they stay in the 6th spot. And I think that 7th seed, if I had to guess right now, I think the Vikings keep it. But I think the second, I'd pick the Niners over the Cardinals right now just because the Cardinals aren't looking great, man. I'm a little bit worried about them. And like I said, the Niners, I think, are coached really well. Kyle Shanahan doing another remarkable job this season. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But if you guys like the episode, click like and subscribe, show some support, and I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time.